What's happening, everybody? The Job Guy's back with you one more time. Nick over there, Ryan over here, and got another good one, Nick. We are running back one of the most beloved shows of all time. No confusion here. One of the most beloved shows in WWEF history. It is the 1992 Royal Rumble. We were little kids when this came out, and there are so many people that probably feel the same way that we did about this. I mean, this is like peak fandom for me. Some people, maybe it's 88, 87. This here is, and we'll get into why, this is peak for me, Nick. Tell us about 1992. Where were you back then as far as wrestling fandom goes and the hype going into this pay-per-view?
Here's the biggest thing to me. The poster boy for the NWA is now in WWF at the time. And for me, Ryan, I wasn't as hyped as everybody. You know what I was hyped about? I wanted just Hogan to smash this guy so we could get over with this, because I wasn't an NWA. I probably watched more NWA WCW in the 90s, 2000s, and beyond than I did in the 80s. I mean, I flipped it on maybe occasionally, but I didn't watch it a lot. I always saw it as the B show. Yeah. And when people told me that, you know, I get into it with kids at school or wherever I was at, Ric Flair on the same level as Hulk, come on. Like, I've watched this guy beat giants. You're going to tell me a guy like smaller than Piper is going to beat this guy? Like, get out of here, man.
You'd always see the magazines and they'd compare the two, or they'd be on the cover of the magazine together. Who's the real man? They always had the rankings in there. To me, this was huge for a couple different reasons. Obviously, the first time Flair is here, he shows up with the belt. I'm the real world champion. To me, that automatically just told me, all right, we're getting Hogan and Flair at WrestleMania. Well, guess what? And I've told this story on here before. I went to WrestleMania 8. When that belt then got held up, I figured either Hogan or Flair was going to win the Rumble. And then, you know, whether it was going to be Flair had both the belts or it was belt against belt, some form of that.
See, yeah, I did not, Ryan. I watched as WWE books today, or anybody AEW, like week to week. Again, I'm 13. I probably should have been a little bit more intelligent on this, but I did. I watched to the Rumble or to WrestleMania or to SummerSlam. I wasn't a guy that was looking down the road, and obviously we didn't have internet. I lived on where I live. There's not a ton of kids on my street that I would talk to. It was just kind of me and my brother who liked wrestling. So we kind of just did what was there and available. I had no clue who was winning this thing. I literally, and there were so many stars in this 92 Rumble. That's what made it so amazing. I'm like, is it The Undertaker? Is it Savage? Is it Hogan? Is it Flair? Is it Sid? I didn't know.
Yeah, and I had a little more inside bait. I had no clue what the dirt sheets were. I was 11. At some point, though, there was a guy in the Detroit News that would write a weekly wrestling column. My dad worked in Pontiac, which is close to being down there, and every Saturday morning, I'd come home and there'd be the newspaper, and it was inside. It was a non-kayfabe Detroit News wrestling article, and he would have tidbits in there of this is going on, that's going on, blah, blah, blah. So I knew a little bit of like things, but everybody, that guy included, like everybody else till this day, thought it was going to be Hogan and Flair. So either way, now getting to the event, I mean, as soon as Flair came out at number 3, I'm like, well, he's not winning then. That kind of changed everything, which is why they had him come out at number 3. But yeah, I thought there was no way he was going to win at that point. But we can get into all of that. Sure. How about when this belt got held up? Obviously, now the second time this happens, happened 402 times. Now, WrestleMania 4, we know what happened there. That's one of your favorite shows of all time. How about now? The belt's held up once again. How excited were you?
I just was blown away by the amount of people that are in this. Even Sergeant Slaughter, this is a former guy, a champion. And again, guys, people can look today and you're like, it's obvious who this is coming down to between two people. But I'm telling you, at 13, I didn't know. And it was just that excitement to, we are going to see a new champion night. And remember, this wasn't, Ryan, this didn't happen all the time. Like they changed the belt, or belts have gone through. Like
right.
in our lifetime, from the time we were born to the time we were 16, I mean, that belt changed a handful of times, man. Anytime you got a chance, right? You got a chance. Anytime you got a chance to see. So this was huge, and this kind of springboards the Royal Rumble into something more than just a gimmick pay-per-view. As you'll see in the 93 one, that now it's a shot at WrestleMania.
All right, so if you're just joining us for the first time on one of these run it backs, we haven't done one in a little bit. So thanks for joining us. First of all, this is how we do it. We just kind of gave our thoughts about life in general when we were coming up watching this, and then we go through the card, and then we have a couple of categories at the very end. Things like, what was the best match? On this show, probably not hard to figure out what that one's going to be. But some of the other ones, maybe the line of the night, maybe the funniest moment of the night, things like that. Who won the night? Most rewatchable part of this show. So we'll run through those things at the end. But let's get into the card right now, Nick. Royal Rumble 1992. And it really wasn't...
Start fast forwarding.
Yeah.
Fucking thing sucks.
Even though they tried a lot of tag team matches, because this was for the belt, so everybody was in the Rumble. Mm-hmm. All the big names are in the last match fighting for the World Championship. This thing opens up with iconic. Anytime Vince opened the show, and say what you want about Vince, he was great at the Survivor Series, introducing the teams. Yeah, with the voice, you know. He did it at Survivor Series. He did it at the Rumble. And this one is it's awesome. It looked good. It had my favorite intro song, the one they used. Hit it right here.
It's time to rumble. It's time for the Royal Rumble.
That has always been my favorite. I think they used it for SummerSlam a couple of times. They use it for this Rumble. That was my favorite song.
Man, I don't know what my favorite is. It's awesome, though.
The pictures are just freaking hilarious. Like, they're all making, the bad guys are making their, and then a couple of the guys look like you said, hey, okay, we're going to take your picture on 3. And then they took it on 2. Like, they're surprised when they take the picture. Like,
It's great.
Like Greg Valentine looks like he's completely shocked they're taking his picture. Huh? It's funny.
They didn't give him 44 minutes to warm up.
Yeah, you got to warm him up, man. We'll take it on 3. How about on 44? But no, that was just great. Vince is at his all-time best.
Yep.
And then we get Gorilla and Bobby. A lot of people, this is their favorite combo of all time when it's on the mic.
2 for me.
Yeah, number 2 for me also. But those two, the chemistry is just off the hook between those two. And Bobby, as everyone has said, this is maybe his greatest night of all time on the mic.
When Bobby's on, there isn't a rapper alive that can go one-on-one with him. I mean, I mean that with all due respect. Like, this dude, he is so quick. And I don't know, and he has, similar to like what Cena has and The Rock have with that cool factor, whatever it is where he says, I don't know if everybody could say what he says and have it come off. Probably some people it'd be super offensive. Some people it would be lame. With him, it's magic.
Yeah, pretty much everything he says is cool. It doesn't matter what it is. It turns out cool. And he is all over the place here, whether it's funny, sarcastic, the stuff with Flair. He's scared, but he's being goofy. I mean, we'll get into more of him as he goes, but this might be his, all-time greatest performance. We start out with a match between the Orient Express. They opened the show a year before. Classic perhaps 5-star match against the Rockers. Here they fight a brand new tag team called the New Foundation. It's Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Bret's little brother, Owen Hart. I love this match. There's only one other match in the last 30 years that I will watch from this pay-per-view. This is it. But you're not so as keen on this one as I am. I was a huge Owen fan. I was at WrestleMania 8, 62,000 people there. One person was cheering. It was me. He was also fighting Skinner, but not as big for you, huh?
It wasn't. I didn't dislike, because I love the Anvil was a Hart Foundation. I think they could have worked. As soon as they walked out and I saw them, they lost me. When he said, Bobby said, "Look at the New Foundation. They must have just got up. They still got their pajamas on." Yeah. Like, that's how I felt. You lost me. And again, I've said it before on the show. I'm different from a lot of people. The in-ring work is literally one of the bottom things for me. It's so much more of everything else: the presentation, the story, the charisma, the character, and the match is long too, dude. For back then, it's like 15 minutes, man.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's good though. I did watch it. If you are a work fan today, a work guy, it's a great match between these two tag teams.
It's actually 17 minutes long.
Oh,
but and maybe this is, what? I'll give them this. Maybe this is the way kids are today, or other people are today, with your Kenny Omegas and your Young Bucks and whatever. I saw Owen doing stuff I'd never seen before, so I thought it was. So I was like, "Whoa, I like this guy," and I didn't mind the outfits as much because that was the day of like TNC Surf Designs and your
hated that crap
colors and whatever. I think that's what they were going for, but it kind of did. It was a little too much. And then the same outfits High Energy had. Well, the New Foundation didn't last very long because Neidhart got fired like 2 weeks later. So that was the end of them. We move on. Lord Alfred Hayes in the back talking about Bret losing a couple days before. He was the IC champ.
Almost died.
He nearly died. And the valiant effort that he gave, I mean, just incredible. 104-degree temperature. You going to go to the hospital? No, I'm going to the ring, brother.
If you're going to spew into this.
Gets beat by the Mountie, of all people, who wins the IC title. This whole thing is strange. Why they did this, how they did it. You hear that Bret was leaving, that he was going to WCW, that a deal was already done. But then he didn't know that his contract rolled over. He has admitted to this, but I don't know that that's why he got the belt taken off.
He was going for sure.
He was gone.
Go get him, champ.
But then he didn't know his contract rolled over.
Wow.
But I don't think the timing is right with that belt. So like the contract had already rolled over. So like, was it punishment or something? And if it was punishment, why'd they have him win at Mania? None of that makes any sense to me whatsoever.
Do you think I'm not maybe quite to satisfy, like maybe to like squat? Hey, dude, stay with us, man. We're gonna push you. We're gonna put the strap on you.
That could be. So anyway, Piper fights the Mountie. He just jobs here. Every time the Mountie did anything, Piper no-sold it. This match goes 5 minutes. Piper wins his very first title of all time. Yep. Anything at all about this match other than Bobby was kind of funny in here?
Yeah, I just I love. Okay, this match is probably my favorite of the card matches because they start building. And this is what got me over with it. Puts another in the Royal Rumble for me, make it better. They start talking that Piper could win 2 belts tonight. And I'm like, whoa, we haven't seen this since Warrior. That's the only one to me. And they really, this is what announcing can do. They start building up and selling Piper that he's a legit contender to win this. And I thought that was great. And if you haven't seen this match, it's worth watching for one thing. Piper's sell or belief at the end, when he wins his first WWE gold, it is so cool when the Fink says, and new Intercom, Piper's face, it looks legit. Like he's so happy to win that IC belt. It's great.
In his first belt ever in the WWE. But the match it's 5 minutes long. Piper no-sells everything, just squashes the Mountie. And that was it for that. Then we go to the back. We got a Bushwhackers interview. This is maybe worse than normal because Jameson is with them now. Shockingly here, Vince was a huge fan of Jameson. I guess he saw him doing stand-up or doing this gimmick somewhere, and he thought it was hilarious. So that's why he was around. He was on the very first ever Bobby Heenan show. Like, it was his sidekick. I don't know if you remember that. Like 3 years earlier, he's sitting there eating his tie and whatever. Anyway, the Bushwhackers then fight the Beverly Brothers, who they had fought numerous times. And this was just like, how are you putting this match on? This match goes 15 minutes long. It's painful. I don't want to say anything else about it, to be honest with you. It takes like 5 minutes before they even start fighting. The Bushwhackers are just doing their thing for 5 minutes.
The Beverly Brothers of major tag teams in the WWE that have wrestled on pay-per-views for gold and things like, or maybe not for gold, but on major pay-per-views, they might be one of the worst, man. I hated them.
Yeah, they weren't around very long. And they take a team that was over, the Destruction Crew in AWA, and they give them this gimmick. I never saw that. They were over, and they were good. They could wrestle, and they give them these rich Beverly Hill boys wearing space outfits
or something. Yeah,
I don't know what they were from LA. They looked like they were from space.
Terrible.
The only other thing, the Bushwhackers lose, but then the good guys beat up the Beverlys after they lose fair and square. And Jameson is like going to do something. They like hold him waiting for Jameson to punch. This then takes like 2 minutes for him to finally do something.
Kicked him in the shin.
And he kicks him in the shin. So glad to see we finally found Orange Cassidy's deadbeat dad. That's the only thing that came out of this that was good for me. We finally found Dad.
Oh, man.
He's coming home, Orange. He's coming home. Awful. For life. All right, then we had one more match on the card, yet another tag team match. As we mentioned, most of the singles dudes are all in the Rumble, so a tag team match. This one is for the belts. It's LOD against the somewhat newly formed Natural Disasters. This was another one, man, that I didn't care about the Natural Disasters at all.
Seems like they should have been bigger than they were, because they were monsters, but yeah, I felt the same way.
It was bad. It's a count out.
I don't know.
And then they go in the back and they have an interview, and Natural Disasters are furious that they didn't win the belts.
Right.
Because they won by count out. And they're all Jimmy Hart.
Even their manager.
Yeah. Like, are you guys rookies? Are you new?
And they look like idiots.
That's what I'm like. Are you guys absolutely morons?
He's an idiot.
I don't know. Jameson is smarter than these guys at this point.
By the sea, by the sea, by the beautiful sea. That's where I'll be.
The other question I have that I've always had is, why doesn't Sid open his mouth when he talks? That's all. I've always just wondered why. I don't get it. He does the entire interview, and they
got a friend that likes that, man.
They zoom in on his face, and they get closer and closer and closer to why he's doing this. I don't know how he does that. It's amazing.
And he's another guy that takes a lot of crap, man. I think he's better than people give him credit
I do too.
For.
Bogus.
He has. I mean, I'm not saying he's the greatest in the ring, but he's no worse than anybody else his size back then. I mean, he's huge. He's got the look. Does he say crazy things in interviews? Yeah, but he's Psycho Sid, man.
His run here, his interviews were great. They were great.
And dude,
somebody called 911.
And here's another thing that really off the bat kills a lot of guys today. He's believable as a guy that can beat Hogan, a guy that can beat Flair, a guy that can beat Savage, Undertaker, because he's a monster, and he looks the part. It's
all-time look. No wonder Vince kept bringing him back. Look at him.
Right. He is your ideal wrestler.
So here we go to what we all came here to talk about, the Royal Rumble. Arguably, there is no argument as far as I'm concerned. This is the greatest Royal Rumble of all time. It's not even really close in my book. Yeah, and I know the same with you. I thought it was going to be Hogan and Flair. Do you remember who you thought it was going to be? I know you're probably cheering for Hogan, but did you have any idea?
Hogan's going to win. That's all I knew. I'm like, the belt is up. On the outside, I loved Savage. So I was just kind of like, one of my dudes is going to win this, And I knew there was an outside chance that Ric Flair, because I watched him win at Survivor Series. I'm watching him get pushed weekly, claiming to be the real world's champ.
Yep. Here we go. We start with a bang. Davey Boy was not like a main eventer yet, but he was getting big. He was getting bigger anyway. He comes out number 1, and they're selling, and none of us had any idea, but they're selling. He won some 40-man battle royal in Prince Albert Hall or whatever it's called in England. You can find that online, by the way. It's kind of cool. The setup there, if you've never seen that place, Royal Albert Hall. I think Prince Albert is something completely different. Don't look that up, especially at work. Royal Albert Hall, that place looks sweet. Battle Royal is not great, but check it out anyway. Cool atmosphere. And Ted, and I know you're a massive DiBiase fan. He was Mr. Royal Rumble the first few years. Dude comes out number 2. He is out before number 3. So,
Not
like,
happy.
Is he hurt? What are we doing here?
Not happy.
In my opinion, that sucked.
Yep. He was out immediately. And then the clock hits, and here comes Flair. And Heenan has already been incredible all night. Now it's really on.
He's like, oh, God, oh, God.
Yeah, well, he swears, which you never heard back
Right.
then. And then he's just silent. He's just silent when he walks to the ring after the initial thing.
And Gorilla drops the bombshell. That's it, brother. I mean, nobody at number 1 through 5 has been there at the end, man.
And I believe
out.
As I said before, you're like, he ain't gonna win now.
Right.
Like, I thought he would. And you got to remember, like, again, I didn't see a ton of Flair matches. I obviously was not at house shows in Greensboro, in Horseman country, when he was going 60 minutes at a house show all the time. I saw him fight Fujinami at Super Brawl the year before. I'd seen some other stuff. I'd seen him fight Sting. I saw him drop the belt to Sting in 1990. I did see that stuff at Great American Bash, but I had not seen like his 60-minute Broadways. I didn't know this guy could go. I didn't know anybody could go 60 minutes,
And Ryan, it's not like SWAT team members are coming out next. This Rumble is packed. Like, there's no way this guy's going through all the names we listed. No way.
Right. I thought immediately, I'm like, all right, well, Flair's out then. I mean, I'm sure he'll make a great run, but he ain't going to win. All right, so who's it going to be? Is it going to be Hogan? It's not going to be The Undertaker, because why would they do that and just put the belt right back on him? So now I'm starting to think, well, what are we doing? What's going on here?
I don't know.
So, yeah, he's done. As far as I'm with Gorilla, like, he's done. I didn't even know it was physically possible to wrestle for 60 straight minutes, let alone kayfabe, Davey eliminates Jerry Sags. And the only reason I bring that up, we get our very first "That's Not Fair to Flair" of the night, which would become a theme, one of the lines of the evening. We get our very first one right there. Anything in the early match you want to talk about? I mean, this is the Ric Flair show. I mean, there aren't too many of the big names that are in, Macho's not there yet. Taker, and because of what happened with the belt, Taker and Hogan got to draw between 20 and 30. So we knew we weren't getting them until later in the night. No Savage, no Piper yet. But there were still big name dudes in this thing. And he was going at him. He wasn't doing the whole chicken heel where he's like hiding in the corner. He's going after dudes.
I think the place starts pumping when the boss man hits.
Yeah.
He's still over. I don't know
over.
what happened to him so quickly, how his character deteriorated and whatnot. The place goes nuts.
Mhm.
Boss man gets in there. You think you're going to get a little boss man. And I love the boss man did a great job staring down, like pointing his finger across the ring. He's great. And then Flair eliminates him. And then Piper.
And here comes Piper.
And then they start. I think right at that moment, the Rumble really heats up, because then eventually you're going to get Jake. Okay, now when Savage coming out, because we had the whole thing with the wedding,
Yep.
and the snake bite. So that's when when you really start getting in. And these are dudes like Jake is a guy. Can he win? I don't, probably not, but he's a big name dude. Piper's a big name dude. And then I love the entrance of Savage and Jake slides to the outside. Isn't that great, man? And he's like, where's Savage? And then Savage goes after him, murders him, throws him out of the ring. And for what we thought a minute, they were going to kick Savage out.
Yeah, he eliminated himself.
They said, yeah, but then they came up on the fly. So do you think Savage just
he just did his normal thing where he jumps over and he was like,
it's like,
crap.
What are you doing, dude? And what a great cover by the announce team that no, you have to be physically thrown out.
The one nitpick there, and we will have nitpicks later in the show, but a nitpick there, he probably could have gotten eliminated and it wouldn't have mattered. Because if you watch this, Savage does nothing in this match.
I wrote that
nothing.
This appears after this.
Disappears.
He just gets beat on.
He's laying on the floor the entire night.
He's just getting beat on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. For being that big. And that's, I remember watching that and you forgot about it. I think the announcers even forget about him one time. They're like counting up the champions and they're like, yeah, we got 2 champions in here. And they're like, no, you got 3. Savage is still. And they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, he no offense at all. After the Jake thing happens, he does his jump over the top, eliminates himself. They let him back in. And I'm telling you, they don't take a single close-up of him because I've already gone through and tried to grab some still photos from this thing, and there are none of him. Because they never focus on him the rest of the night. It was
that one segment with Jake, and that was it.
You see his back the whole time.
You're right. But for the card's sake, probably could have been better to have him and Jake, and then you show camera, like fade to the back. Oh, they're in the parking lot still fighting or something like that. But yeah, because he is a non-existent.
And he does last till the final 4. But even when he gets thrown out, they're just like, Sid
there goes,
threw him out.
Just dumps him. It's not even like a major throw out. The other one that I think is a bummer that we missed a little bit, there's a moment where Piper is walking up behind Hogan. And Hogan is working someone over in the turnbuckle. I forget. And I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. We all remember this. These dudes' faces or not, I don't think they like each other a whole lot.
And they do trade some blows at some point,
a little bit. Yeah. I thought we were going to get to see a little Piper Hogan showdown in this thing, but that kind of didn't amass.
Yeah, they should have done something. And then you could have sold that too. Oh, they've settled their differences years ago, but the belt's on the line. It's every man for himself. You mentioned Boss Man. He takes a crazy bump when he gets knocked out, like he flips over and snaps his head on the thing, like Enzo did when he was like.
Oh man, dude, you might think that's one that you're like, was he supposed to go out? Like Sid just propelled that dude into the corner. He hits the buckle and just sails out, man.
Yeah,
that is my favorite, I think, elimination of the night, man.
Who that, Sarge or Boss Man?
The Sarge, when Sarge gets fired out.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry, you were talking about the Boss Man.
I'm talking about when Boss Man clotheslines himself on the rope.
I thought he was dead. You can see him when he gets up. He's almost like, I'm sorry for people out there. I went off on the wrong one.
Oh, but that one too, though. And I've seen Sarge take that bump before, and I've never heard him talk about it. There's got to be some kind of interview somewhere because I've seen him do that. He goes Bret Hart style into the turnbuckle, but he hits it and then flies over the top rope.
like it's in the way the way it did it looked real.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did that. That's why I always think it's hilarious.
The final 4 is Macho, Sid, Flair, Hogan.
Right.
Flair and Hogan, obviously that's the storyline here, but Sid, there was no storyline with Sid at this point. And we didn't realize that they were setting that up for Mania, I guess. We were thinking Hogan and Flair, so they set up that match right away. But Flair screws up the finish here. He flips over the top rope to do his flip over the top when he gets thrown in, and then he runs down the whatever you call it, the apron, and then takes the clothesline. He doesn't make it over. He doesn't make it over when he goes to flip over the rope. And now, the only reason why I even thought about this is because I've heard him numerous times now talk about WrestleMania 18 when he fought the Taker and he went to do the turnbuckle flip and he didn't make it. And Taker says to him, "You're going to make it this time, kid." And he does it one more time. He doesn't make it here either. Now, he's been in the ring for an hour, so,
Right.
But I assume the finish is supposed to be he runs down, gets clotheslined, Hogan goes to knock him out. That's when Sid dumps him over the top. He doesn't make it, and then he basically just jumps over the top rope. And that's when Sid comes from behind. So he improvised very well, but I never really noticed that until recently.
No, I didn't catch that. I mean, I didn't really catch that.
Watch it again. I ruined the whole thing for you.
No, I wouldn't have went. I probably wouldn't have watched it for another several years or something. I'm glad I'll go take a look at that. That's just the end there. That's interesting.
Yeah. So he kind of improvises, takes a punch, and then with the punch, then he jumps over the top rope, super over exaggerates that.
I was just so fixated on Hogan going over. I missed that whole thing because I even today I'm just like, no, because that's my dude.
That was the next question. So Flair wins. What are we doing? What are we thinking? What's going on in 12-year-old Nick Hortz's head?
The same thing that happened the last time Hogan got screwed out of the belt. Like, is this really freaking how this ends? How the hell? Like, I was so mad that Ric Flair, I didn't, again, this guy's not supposed to come, and they did this right because they hooked me. And to me, this moment, he, even being in there, the long period of time was not good enough for me. He had to win this thing. To get over with me as a WWF fan.
Yeah.
This guy is not on Hogan's level to me. He is now. I was so freaking pissed. Like, this guy, and I think of the way the NWO, this guy from another company just came in and won a major event and took your title. And I'm furious. And I'm like, that must have been how all those kids felt as I laughed in their face with the NWO. Like, all these kids watching WCW who don't like WWE, the NWO's coming in and just beating all their guys. And that's what made it great because they can't lose. That's what ruined Nexus. Ric Flair comes in and he freaking wins the belt. Like, I was like, oh, as a kid, I was not happy, but that's the goal. I wasn't a bad turn off happy. Someone's got to get the belt back from this guy.
You said a couple things there that I'm sure pissed some people off. First being last time Hogan got screwed out of the title.
Yeah,
he didn't get screwed out of this title, which I'm sure everybody with their keyboard is going, Hogan had to pull him out. Hogan never loses. So I'm sure that,
I was guys and gals. I was a Hulkster fan. I just every time he lost.
And now I'm going to tick him off because the Nexus sucked after the first night. So there's that. The reason why the Nexus didn't work was because they were nobodies.
That's true.
And after the first night, you're like, wait a minute, these nobodies are going to beat. Now, some of them, Daniel Bryan is a big deal now, but he wasn't then, not to the national audience. I was a little shocked, at what happened afterward, the whole Sid setup. Like, Flair wins. This is supposed to be like the greatest moment of his life. And then he's just gone.
Yeah,
he just leaves. And then the whole thing is the Sid Hogan Showdown. I think this is somewhat exaggerated. There were boos in the crowd, but now the whole internet talks like there was 18,000 people throwing things at Hogan, and they cut that out on the Coliseum video. That's not true because I have the video.
I have the video too. And Ryan, you do. This is probably
boo. There are boos.
There are people that cheer when Hogan is eliminated. Yeah. I watch specifically this time, but it isn't the majority of people. No. So I mean, the reason why it probably looks weird is because you're not used to seeing this. People talk like there was always this abundance hate of Hogan. Well, you weren't there because I don't remember it. I remember the places going nuts in 87, 88, 89, 90 for this freaking
that
guy.
Night.
Yes.
When he comes out and eliminates The Undertaker, the place goes crazy. 2 seconds later, he eliminates the Berserker, rips his shirt off. The place is going
place
nuts.
goes nuts. It
Now,
always
Sid
went
had
nuts.
some fans, especially in New York, which some people found out at Madison Square Garden later on down the road. But these people are like, oh, the whole place was booing and they took it out. That's not true. It's not. In fact, you can still hear boos on the Coliseum video.
Now that I look back at it, I loved being angry as a kid, but good angry. Like I mean, when my guys lost, like
That's what you were supposed to do.
I just love caring so much about the characters and despising the villains so much, or whoever the faces or whoever I'm cheering for. So yeah, I just remember it being awesome for that. Like, and I was so into my guys.
And I think you made a great point because Flair, I was super excited, as I said, when he came in. I'm like, sweet, we're going to get to see Hogan Flair finally. And I was very excited, but he immediately feuded with Piper. And I didn't really care about that feud at all. I was not a big Piper fan. Once again, WrestleMania 8, 62,000 people there. I was one of like maybe 5 people cheering for Brett. Everybody else was cheering for Piper. I didn't really care for that feud too much at all. So he kind of like, this got all his momentum back and then some. And the way they put him over, like you said, yeah, he's from the B organization, but he ran through everybody. And again, he didn't just cower in the corner. He actually wrestled for 60 minutes. Like he wouldn't go take a timeout. He'd come beat up whoever. And it really showed that, hey, okay, this guy can go.
In his interview in the back, when he sold everything, you basically telling me sitting at home, Little Horts, you called me the B champ. I came in here and I went through 29 of your top guys and I took the belt. And then he said what made me happy. The belt. The best belt, the only belt that really matters in wrestling. And now I'm hooked.
All right, Nick. So let's hit it here. Let's do the ultimate run back right now. Category number 1. We mentioned him. He's got to have maybe the line of the night. He probably has about 90 lines of the night. Bobby Heenan was just on another level here. What are your thoughts about Heenan? And what do you have, a line of the night? Or can you even get one? Can you even get one?
I can't, Ryan. I got 2 I'm going to go through for you. Bret Hart lost to the Mountie, as you say, with 104-degree temperature. Bobby Heenan, first of all, he had 104-degree temperature. I've wrestled with 113-degree temperature. That's no big deal.
No big deal.
I just couldn't believe. I thought that was great.
He said it a couple times too.
And then when Tunney came out, and I probably went right over my head as a kid. I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, "Yeah, Jack Tunney, he's been the best president since Noriega." Those are my 2 Bobby lines that I liked the best.
There was a bunch, and not all of them were like funny. I don't know if I'd ever heard this before. The excellence of execution for Bret Hart. Heenan says the excellence of execution got executed. And I'm like,
that's a great
dang.
line.
That was pretty good. I did like the only thing about the Bushwhackers match was him ripping on Jameson. He went in on his parents. Jameson's mother and father never got a divorce because nobody wanted custody of him.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like, they ran away from home to get away from him. I thought that was like some of the stuff he said there. The Bushwhackers said, are those tattoos or are they just drawing on themselves? Like things like that. The whole thing in the Rumble. Yeah. I mean, you could just take 60 minutes of what he said there. Those were great. And then in the back, you got to go, and I don't know how you did yours because we have not talked about specifics here, but the whole thing in the back is just one giant line after the match. You and I say this still to this day randomly.
Right.
We're not the kind of guys to say we told, you so. But
we
told you so.
We use that all the time.
Ryan, from that to the tear in my eye.
Yeah.
I mean,
Put that cigarette out. I don't even know why you yelled at it. Like, there's nobody there. Like, what are you
we can't see that. Like, what are you doing?
I don't think anybody was, though. I think he just said it to make
Really?
it seem like it was a press conference, like there was media there and things like that. That's what I think. He just said it.
As a kid, I was pissed
Right.
off.
You
Some
bought it,
guy
yeah.
walking by with a cigarette. Like,
Hey, how you guys doing? Oh,
they were trying to
All
shoot
right.
an interview here. Stop smoking, man. Like, oh,
Yeah,
man, that's
to me,
great.
the line of the night, and we have another category we'll do next for funniest moment, but the line of the night is with a tear in my eye. I mean, that is the best.
It is. This was for me because I have something else for funniest moment. But yeah, that would be the line. I just figured everybody knew that one. That is the line of the night.
Right. No
with
question.
A tear in my eye.
Yeah, we talked about best match. Yeah, we know what best match was. Let's go to funniest moment. What do you have there?
Sid, I mean Sergeant Slaughter. I'm sorry, getting eliminated.
Oh, what you got?
He just gets propelled out. You've got to see that elimination if you've never seen it. It is awesome. I just love I laughed again, and I knew it was coming, and I knew what I was going to see, and I still thought it's hilarious. I don't know why. I just love that elimination.
It's a good one. I go back to Heenan, who again has every emotion on earth during this 60-minute, from pissed to happy to crying to begging off people. And here he is begging off from the booth. Piper saves Flair at some point. I don't remember exactly what happens, but he goes, Roddy, I never thought I'd say this. It's a kilt. It's not a skirt. It's a kilt. 2 seconds later, Piper punches Flair and he goes, why, you no good creep, you skirt wearing freak. It's a skirt. It's not a kilt. It's a skirt. Just
that's great.
The timing there. And there's no way he would have known. There's no way he would have known like that he was just going to hit him 10 seconds. It just worked out. Like this whole pay-per-view or this match, it was just gold. What is aged the best from this pay-per-view? When you're watching it here now 31 years later, what has aged the best for you?
Man, it was tough for me because I had two things. Do you have one or two, Ryan?
I had trouble with this one altogether, but yeah, I have narrowed it down to one.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first because then I don't need to share two if you've got one.
Just the match itself, the way it's booked, the way
it's beautiful.
It flows, the people who are in it, Heenan and Gorilla, like every single thing about this
was absolutely perfect.
You could put this on a show on a Monday or Wednesday or a pay-per-view, just the way it is, and it would work.
Money.
It would work now.
For me, Vince screaming the introduction of the participants at the beginning. I love the Royal Rumble.
Let's get ready to rumble.
And then everybody's name because I just remember, and it got me a little bit again because it does these first few Rumbles, WrestleManias, and things that I remember. I kind of like revert back to myself. I see myself sitting at who's in this, who's in it? Like, oh my gosh, here we go. All right, and it's just classic for me. Yeah, that would be my most
get you pumped up. Like, I mean, it's so over the top, it's insane, but you can't help be like, yeah, let's go. The Rumble, even the years before when he did it, or a normal Survivor Series, like, oh, this is going to be great. Wait a minute now. Red Rooster is teaming with Brutus. Oh, my gosh.
Right.
Like, he made you want to see that. How about the opposite? What has aged the worst?
The entrance to me is very plain. I would have maybe just Royal Rumble over the thing or something. I know they were doing that back then, probably worried about seats too.
Yeah.
There's no fireworks that go off. I love, and that's one of the reasons I like WrestleMania 4's look. I feel like there's not very many people in the crowd there. The look is so
the banners everywhere.
In the long aisle. It's so royal with the red carpet. It seems like a special event. And to me, less people only means you better have a ticket, my friend.
Yeah.
It's an exclusive event that only the finest of the fine are attending, if you will, or something like that. I don't know.
And they
But
they didn't change the entrance until a couple of months later, WrestleMania 8. To me, the rest of the
right.
card
Oh,
is the answer. Like now, obviously, you
bad.
fill out an entire pay-per-view, and there's other Royal Rumbles that have some of the best matches of all time. This was not that. The rest of the card, you can fast forward, and I'd recommend that you do. What's the most rewatchable scene? You said you love going back and watching Sarge get flipped out of the ring. Is that what's most rewatchable for you?
Wrestler promos before the Rumble. The wrestler, I could sit and watch them right now before even if they did it today, I wish they would, man. Like, let these guys all get a moment to shine. I mean, you're running 4-hour pay-per-views and 3-hour Raws. A guy can't cut a 20-second promo. I mean,
No kid.
Like, come on, man. Like, I think those are the best, man, for me. Just getting to hear who's in it and hear from them and who they are.
I'm going to combine my two because the next thing was going to be the moment of the night. And it's very similar, and I could not differentiate here. My moment of the night and most rewatchable scene is the interview afterward with Flair.
It's good.
I think it is I think it's the greatest moment of Ric Flair's career. I obviously was not in Greensboro in 1983. I have
definitely
no idea.
is in WWE. It definitely is in the,
and I think it's bigger because this company was bigger and more people were watching. We're not doing a Starrcade 83 show today.
Right.
And we are never going to do a Starrcade 83 show. I mean, where's the lie? Where's the lie? We're never going to. I mean, maybe we can. I don't. If you really want to,
okay.
It's not on the books for me,
and I don't know that people will like it.
Yeah. I don't know if they like this either, but that one might get 6 views. But yeah, this is the greatest moment of his career. And I don't think it's close because of the stage, because of everything. And his promos, obviously we have learned to love it. We've learned to love a lot of his things now that we're older, but a lot of it is just one-liners and look at my house, look at my cars, look at my shoes, look at my coat. This, as you explained earlier, he is sticking it to NWA. He is awesome. He puts WWE over. He is not funny. He is not like that Ric Flair, the rich guy Ric Flair. He's I just whooped all of you. I'm the best. This is the belt that says I'm the best. I mean, it is. And this could be of what age the best. This is an amazing promo. An amazing promo. Because he's telling the truth.
And it played, Ryan, this is hard to argue because it played right into the story between the two companies was the WWE was the cartoon company to a lot of people. I was a fan. I was one of those people. I love the WWE. WCW, NWA fans, whatever you want to call it, they were considered what a lot of people call the real wrestling, or like, because they were, I guess, more physical, longer matches, and he was that in the interview, and I just took your freaking title.
Yep. And I mean, he even says it in the promo, but whatever.
Right.
This is the greatest moment of my life.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
I just think it's incredible. And then Bobby and Perfect being there behind him, it's saying the things they were saying, adding on. It was perfect. I do have a slight nitpick with, I wish it happened in the ring. I did find it odd that he is just gone. He wins and he leaves. And then we get the Hogan Sid stare down, but they had to do that so they could get the Hogan Sid thing. So it happened in the back. Okay. Moment of the night for you. What is your number one moment?
The Sid Justice eliminating Hulk Hogan. I'm still mad. Then Hogan goes right into
pose.
I was fine with him pulling Sid out for everybody out there. You said you stood there, you're watching Hogan and Flair fight, and you wait for that opportune moment. Okay, guy, and then Flair eliminate that. Just that sequence right there. Hogan going over to Flair winning is just, it's the best moment. It's the most, my favorite. Yeah.
Only a couple of more here. You got any nitpicks at all? I mentioned a couple little things. You got anything? Because this match is nearly perfection.
I would see we could have probably switched a lot of our stuff around into different spots. The undercard sucks. Yeah, that's my nitpick. Like it's just really bad.
My big thing is this whole match came about because of what we mentioned. Taker cheated to beat Hogan at the Survivor Series. Then Hogan cheated at Tuesday in Texas, so they just vacated the belt. With this whole thing, those two guys got to draw between 20 and 30 because they were the guys with the original belt. He gets eliminated like in 10 minutes, and he doesn't really do too much in this. He's the reason for the match, and he was kind of left out. And then Hogan gets in there and just eliminates him immediately. I would have liked to see those two guys go at it a little longer. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't
see that.
Like that at all. So that was kind of odd. You got a hot take? Any fire take? I just said, hey, I think this is the best night of Flair's life.
And this is what I said, because I'm biased toward this guy. Hottest take for me is this is the first Royal Rumble where DiBiase's a job guy. To me, he's one of the best heels of the late 80s in the WWE. He's absolutely amazing. I don't know, is his title run counted?
No. So
he's probably one of my top three. I mean, obviously Piper, but he's one of my top guys to never hold that world title.
Yeah.
And to be the guy buying the belt, or trying to in 88, 89, he buys 30, 90, he buys 1, 91, he's in a pretty big feud against Dustin and his boy, or Dusty and his boy, I'm sorry, Dustin, and then that with Virgil, and I think that's the match where Virgil actually turns, isn't it, and becomes a face. Huge pop with Piper and the crowd. Yeah, DiBiase's just there. I guess they had too much.
It was going tag right after this, a month later.
That's true.
My other one, and this might be sacrilegious to say, I hear people say the reason why this is so huge is because of all the stars in it, which we have talked about. There are a ton of stars in it. I agree with that, but there's no more stars in this match than the previous two matches.
No.
They're
all huge.
They're all big. And the reason why this one's so big is Flair's in it. And then the belt is on the line. It's not because of all the stars, because all these dudes, except for Flair, were in the year before and the year before. Yeah, I think 90 is great, man. I love 90. The Ultimate Warrior's in 90. Andre the Giant is in 90. Dusty Rhodes is in 90. That's way more star-studded than this one.
I think
it's because of the belt. Who won the night? This seems like it might be obvious.
It is for me. I'm going to say Ric Flair for not only winning the Rumble, but the interview afterwards is lights out amazing. Ric Flair wins the night, man.
I got Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan wins the night.
For you, all right.
Flair probably would have still gotten over like we talked about. He doesn't get over to the extent he did without Heenan.
That's true.
At all. I mean, he put him over more than any wrestler I think has ever been put over in the history of the business, because it went for 3 hours. It wasn't just like a 20-minute match. 3 hours. He's putting this dude over.
He's cheering for him over former Heenan members.
He was untouchable that night, man. I thought he won the night because he won it for Flair.
Let's give a big one.
He did great, Ryan. This is one of his classics, and I say one of because, man, he's so awesome. He is. This is a great night for him. Maybe one of his best.
Think about this, dude. How often now you did hear it sometimes, but not like this. When you say Royal Rumble 92, what do you think of? I think of Heenan before I think of Flair. I really do.
Dude, see, I still think of that, but I think the first words, that's not fair to Flair, is what I start thinking about when I think about the Rumble.
This isn't fair to Flair. This is not fair to Flair.
Any what ifs, man? You got like a what if? Oh, I wish this, or what if that happened instead? What if Flair didn't win?
No, not really. I mean, I always like, what if, like you said, the Taker went out? What if they had the finals be all the champs?
What if the belt wasn't on the line? What happens to the Rumble afterward? Because, the next year it became main event at WrestleMania after that. So what if they never did put the belt on the line in the Rumble? Would the Rumble eventually have become for the number one contender?
And man, I'm thinking, how bad would that have dimmed Flair's victory? And does he even win?
That's a huge one to me. If that belt never gets put on the line,
that really changes that should be giving credit to this Rumble too. It changes the Rumble from not just being a match that may have just faded away. Because if it was just a match, I'd rather watch the match that has the champion in it then.
Would it have faded away like finally Hell in the Cells pay-per-view? Very interesting. Anything else on 92, Nick?
I just miss it. I just miss everything about it. The production, the announce team, the pace, the fact that everybody's not just soaring off my television set. It just, I miss wrestling.
It was a good one, man.
It was amazing.
It was, in my mind, it was the last big, great match, great pay-per-view
for a while,
for years.
In the WWE, for sure.
Yeah.
To me, it's the last great pay-per-view until I'm not going to
Beach 96.
And that's only one match. If you're going to say complete, it's probably the next one. But yeah, Bash
the
at the
feeling
Beach.
you got because this is not a great pay-per-view.
No,
but you cared, but you really didn't care that much about those other matches because you knew you were going to get an incredible.
You knew the finish,
the hype, the excitement.
The taste in your mouth when you go home, when you're done drinking or eat, that's what you want, man. In that, you knew you'd get that in Bash of the Beach 96. Who is the third guy? Who's taking this belt home in 92? It was so cool.
If you got memories, please let us know in the comments. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe if you could. As always, appreciate it, everybody.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Job, guys. Out.
Pleasure's all yours, Bucky boys.